Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Marquette Golden Eagles Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14. Today we're going to go through the preseason here as we start and prepare for year 6. So we'll just get right into it, digging into the recruiting board. And I'm pretty excited about this year's development. So here you see at the top, John Coleman, 6'4", 234, 5-star out of Appleton, Wisconsin. We debut at number 3 on his board, behind the Badgers and Michigan. And looking at his scouting, 89 speed, 85 agility with B acceleration. Looks to have very good catching traits with that 86 route running, 76 spec catch, C for catching and catching traffic, B vision, 92 carrying. So at that size, 6'4", 234, I mean, tight end. He's got to be a tight end. No, he has to have some blocking, I would think. Although the D strength, not really that great. Even has some defensive traits, but no block shedding. And at 6'4", 234, probably would want him at linebacker or maybe D end. But he does have good coverage. So maybe safety at 6'4", 234. I don't really know about that. But either way, I like him as a receiver. But hopefully he has tight end capabilities with some good blocking traits. So Coleman, a 5-star, the first time we've ever had a 5-star interested in the preseason. Jake Allen, a 4-star linebacker out of Shelby, Michigan, the 4th outside linebacker in the nation. We debut at number 1 on his board. 6'2", 257. Love that size. We haven't scouted him yet here in the preseason, but B speed and strength with B power move, C finesse, and even has some coverage as well. So looks to be a stud linebacker, and we could really use that in our linebacking core. Terry O'Donnell, the top safety we have targeted, the 3rd free safety in the country out of Skokie, Illinois. And he has NIU at Northwestern above us right now. Didn't scout him either, but you like the B speed and acceleration, B hit power and tackle, B press with C man and zone. So a pretty well-rounded safety, and we kind of need a stud on the back end like him. Tim Smith, a 4-star wide receiver out of Manitowoc, Wisconsin. We had signed a player there, I think, last year or the year before, so hopefully we could strike again here. We haven't scouted him yet here in the preseason, but A speed with B acceleration, love that combo. The receiving traits kind of at D for the most part, aside from that C route running. So we want one receiver in this class, hoping it's Smith, assuming we can get Coleman, and hopefully he's a tight end with that tremendous size and athleticism combination. LaRue Hart, the 3-star quarterback out of Roseville, Minnesota, the 16th ranked quarterback in the nation. We're behind Minnesota and Wisconsin for him right now. And 86 throw power, you like that, with 91 agility, 86 acceleration, B speed, and throw accuracy. So LaRue Hart looks to be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I mean, he's a top 16 quarterback, but still maybe even better than that with 78 break tackle, 86 spin move with B elusiveness and B juke, good ball carrier vision. So he looks to be a tremendous athlete under center with a capable arm as well. So we do have Jason Smith, who's going to be the backup this year, and LaRue Hart, a very good quarterback in his own right. Hopefully we can get him in. Josh Madsen, probably need one running back. He's also out of Appleton, Wisconsin. So Josh Madsen and John Coleman on the same high school team, and they got to be the top high school team in the state. Michigan number 1 for him right now. And we didn't scout him, but as the B speed, acceleration, and agility. So looks to be a very good back, the 11th back in the nation. Hopefully we could bring him in as the one back we target in this class. John Richardson, so he's outside of our region. At this point in the dynasty, I am allowing myself to kind of venture out as long as the player is interested to start the season. So he has us number 1 on his board. We haven't scouted him quite yet. Probably need 1, maybe 2 linebackers in this class along with a D end. So maybe we could assign an extra linebacker, move him to D end, which brings us here to Al Bush. Really the only D end interested throughout the country right now. And we're only number 7 on his board. So it looks like we're a very uphill battle here for Al Bush, but he likes the size there at 6'4", 275. Haven't scouted him yet. Only D strength, but B power move, C finesse, and block shed, pursuit, hit power, play rec. So very well rounded. Just wish he was a little stronger. At tight end, we have Steph Curry here, and he's going to be a top priority for us. We really can't assume that Coleman here is going to be a tight end, and even if that's the case, we could afford to bring in 2 in this class. So I think Stephen Curry is going to be our top option. C speed with you like the B agility and acceleration at the tight end position. Very good catching traits already. 76 catching, 77 route running, 71 spec, and C catching traffic. Not a blocking tight end by any means, but I think it's easier to kind of find yourself a blocking or a balanced tight end rather than a receiving, which brings us here to Jerry Stanley, 6'5", 252 out of Maywood, Illinois. Backup plan here at tight end, but a better blocker than Curry, but not nearly the athlete or receiving threat. Offensive line probably need two guys here, and these are our top three options. Adrian Holmes at 70 overall. Haven't scouted him quite yet, but looks to be a very good athlete with the C speed, A acceleration, B strength, and C blocking traits down the line. So looks to be a very good offensive tackle prospect, and we'll scout him halfway when we advance here to week 1. Greg Morris, I think we did scout these next two guys. Greg Morris, 82 strength, which is better than Dixon here, which is only 74. Very lackluster on the offensive line. 74 run block with C pass and impact. Only 69 run block here for Morris, but he does have B impact, a little bit stronger. So kind of a toss-up between these two guys. We don't really have to decide on them now, but Holmes looks to be our top option right now on the O-line. And now Thomas Andrews. We need to sign, I think, one or two Iowa guys to preserve that pipeline. So I think Andrews we are going to make a run at as one or two of the linebackers we bring in. B speed with 80 strength, B agility, C acceleration. You like him as an athlete, very strong at the linebacker position, but otherwise a little raw in tackling, block shedding, coverage. But definitely a good starting base here with most of those traits in the mid to high 60s. So I think I really do like Thomas Andrews, a 3-star out of Red Oak, Iowa, and he'll probably be a top priority on defense for us. Although Allen and Richardson probably our top two there at linebacker, but like I said, maybe one of them can maybe go over to D end if we miss out on Al Bush here, who really, like I said, is an uphill battle for him. Then we probably need one or two corners in this class. Brian Beck, Noblesville, Indiana. I think one of maybe two Indiana targets we have. Opens with Hawaii as the favorite. And we didn't scout him at all, but B speed, agility, C man and zone with B press. 31st ranked corner, number 2 on his board. Desmond McGill, so I always check Jersey, just being a Jersey kid, represent the shore over here. And Desmond McGill actually hails from my hometown of Brick Township, New Jersey. So I added him to the board. We'll see how it develops. And something else I considered here is he has nothing in the area. So like a lot of people from getting out of high school in Brick, they always venture off. And it looks like that's what McGill wants to do, looking for a new experience. Navy currently leading, but Troy and then a couple Louisiana schools. So we'll jump in on McGill with the B, speed, agility, and acceleration, C, man and zone, and B, press. Looks to be a very good corner. The number 19 corner in the country, go Dragons. Ryan Summers, a backup plan here at tight end. Marco Lynch, a backup plan at quarterback if we miss out on LaRue Hart here. And I love that name, LaRue Hart. Got to get him into Milwaukee. So if we miss out on Hart, we'll try and pursue Marco Lynch a little bit more. 84 throw power, not bad, but 72 throw accuracy, it's pretty subpar. A couple other linebacker additions here, just some insurance. Kenny Weeks, a Winnipeg, Canada native. We actually ended up cutting, I forget his name, I think it was Dustin Hill maybe. Could be wrong on that, but a D tackle we signed from Saskatoon ended up being a big bust. We ended up cutting him and just went with the storyline that he's staying in Canada, going to play some football at a university over there and just dominate. So Matt Harvey, not the starting pitcher previously of the Mets, but a JUCO linebacker here at 72 overall. C speed, agility at D, B acceleration, C block shed, but the finesse and power move at D with C zone. So, I mean, maybe a D end, but the block shed, the power, he has no pass rush though, so maybe a run stopping D end. I don't know. Just an addition to the board. We're not really going to pursue him quite yet. Brent Stokes, an athlete. B speed, C agility, acceleration. 78 man, 74 play rec with B zone, C press. Only D tackle though, so maybe a corner or a safety. Doesn't really have route running at 66, 67 carrying. B juke, or 85 juke with B spin and 75 elusive. So maybe a returner at some point with those ball carrier traits, but I don't think he's going to be an overpowering receiver or running back at only 63 overall, but maybe a DB who can contribute to the return game a little bit. We'll wait out on him with these two guys up here, Beck and McGill. Going to have to scout these guys halfway. Maybe even, we already did scout Stokes, but Corey Brown here, JUCO corner, maybe scout him as well. B zone with C man and press. B speed and acceleration, C agility, a decent JUCO guy there. Then just a bunch of fillers down here, D end, a tight end, a couple running backs if we miss out on our top guy up there. Kevin Leonard is the only other receiver we have on the board other than that one we outlined there at the top. Tim Smith. So if we miss out on Smith, Leonard might have to be the option there. Going back down. Drew Miller, tackle, a corner here. We already have a few corners on the board. Nick Austin, just a fullback. We really don't need a fullback, but added him just for S&Gs. Jamil Smith, Brian Holmes, a couple linebackers, and a couple more safeties down here. We added Charles Miller here from Reading, Ohio, just because we'd like to bring in one more Ohio guy to preserve that pipeline going into next season. But that's the board. We're only going to be losing maybe a dozen players to graduation, and we have like 2 open spots currently on the roster with only 68 players out of 70 spots. So we don't really have to be too active this recruiting cycle, but of course we want to try and fill some spots of players that we're going to be losing and prepare for the future. And we have some very, very good prospects who could potentially fill those voids. Now we're here at red shirts. We'll just go position by position. No one here at quarterback. And we actually did end up creating Lawrence Jackson on another team. Stat for stat, it's going to be an identical player. So we'll review that shortly. It is a Michigan school, so he goes back home to Michigan where he's going to be playing and being a starting quarterback for the first time. And we bid him farewell and hope that he can pull it off there in his change of scenery. At running back, we're not going to redshirt Jared Luke, even though we have a million running backs, just because Luke was a 4-star and just being that he was a higher caliber player at this stage in the dynasty. One of the first 4-stars we ever brought in, and the highest rated player that we've ever brought in. So we're not going to redshirt him. I really considered redshirting Sam Manning or Michael James here, even though I typically don't redshirt players beyond their freshman season, but I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. I know you obscure victories. I know that you don't mind redshirting like sophomores, juniors, but I only really prefer to redshirt them as their freshman year for some reason. But I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. I think I will just roll with James and Manning again as juniors, but something maybe I'll consider going ahead. We're going to redshirt Matt Robinson, a 1-star fullback, very good blocking fullback. Albert Brown, the athlete, we put at fullback here, going to take over in that Josh Terry role once Terry graduates. But Albert Brown, an offensive weapon with good catching traits, good rushing traits, and someone will mix in on offense at points this season as well. Receiver-wise, I was thinking about maybe redshirting Quincy Bonner here, but we redshirted CJ Saria last year, so we're going to just go ahead and redshirt Kyle Romero, the freshman. I like what he brings to the table, but we're only going to be losing one receiver here, so we probably only need to bring in one. Only 2 others as upperclassmen here with Washington and Pope. Washington being the JUCO transfer. At tight end, we are going to redshirt Waylon Douglas, and he wasn't even a player we signed. We did pursue him at earlier in the season last year, but ended up removing him from our board, but still the computer signed him to our team. So he was more of an offensive or defensive lineman, but just, to make him a project, we put him at tight end with good athleticism, good size, and good blocking, although he has no catching traits whatsoever. So maybe a 2-way player down the line, but we'd really like to progress him at tight end and see if maybe he can develop into a capable player there going into maybe his 5th year of eligibility. And being a JUCO guy, I didn't think he was even going to have a red shirt, but being that he does, we'll just go ahead and use that, only being a sophomore. On the offensive line, Roger Cook is going to step in and be the day 1 starter at left tackle, the 12th ranked tackle in this past recruiting class. At center, we are going to redshirt Marlon Atkinson, the Milwaukee kid, and going into his redshirt sophomore year, he'll likely take over for Bobby Marcus at center. That's our only redshirt on the offensive line. We only had 2 signees there. We're going to go ahead and just let Taylor Ryan work his way into the rotation a little bit. Antonio Carr is far and away our best D end at 85 overall. But after that, Brigham, Anthony Edwards here, who we transitioned from linebacker, and then Gaines and Ryan. Gaines also a Milwaukee kid. So we have 3 Milwaukee guys now on the roster. Love to see that. So I think all 4 of those guys will kind of work over at the right side. And, of course, Carr will pretty much play every snap on his left end position. At D-tackle, I was tempted to redshirt Jeff Thomas, but he was a 4-star, the 14th ranked D-tackle. So kind of like I said with Jared Luke at running back, we're just going to go ahead and let him play his freshman year. Probably will work into the rotation over Jay Hill and John Daniels here. Witherspoon and Walker will be the starters. I like Witherspoon and as a pass rusher, and then Walker as a run stopper, really complement each other well. And then Thomas can work his way in as well into some 4-3 sets most likely. I don't think we had any red shirts at left outside linebacker. James Suggs, though, going to redshirt him at middle linebacker, the Michigan native. At corner, we're going to redshirt Doug Doherty, one of 3 Milwaukee players we have, just a 2-star corner, but he went up like 6 points after scouting. Love to see that growth, and I think he'll develop into a nice player down the line. At free safety here, bit of a quandary. I mean, Andrew Thomas, we had at corner, moved him over to safety. Going to kind of split snaps here with Omar Wilson. Stovall was a 2-star that we redshirted, so I'd rather get Thomas on the field, a better athlete as well. Well, better speed at least. Stovall does have the better agility and acceleration, but Omar Wilson will be the starter. I think probably our lowest rated starter on the defense at just 73 overall. No, I'm sorry, Brigham is at 72 overall. So the 2 sophomores, as you would expect, our lowest rated starters, but we really like what Wilson did last year in a limited role. Mark Henry, of course, going to start at strong safety, and Daryl Simmons, who was the 19th ranked strong safety, going to redshirt him, hoping he can get a little bit faster. If you can get that speed up to like 85, would feel a lot better about that. But Dominic Green here, not sure how he's going to get mixed into it with that 78 speed, but very good traits otherwise. He's a very complete player, just not a good athlete. 85 man, 85 zone, 84 press. So very good there in coverage with 89 pursuit, but he just can't. He's just not fast. He's really not fast, and that's his big. It's really his big Achilles heel, which is a very big one. So at quarterback this year, Greg Walker going to be a 4th-year starter, and hopefully he has a career year with a very experienced team around him. Entering this year, 6,644 passing yards with 43 touchdown passes. Jason Smith, the athlete from last year who he put to quarterback. Look at that, 90 speed, 91 acceleration, 80 agility, the arm at 81 power, 80 accuracy. So not the best arm, but really makes up for it with that athleticism. We're going to try and mix him onto the field this season. Dusty Alexander being the senior, he is going to be our number 1 back opening the year, but he and I always call him Marcus McBride. He and Mario McBride are going to be a 1-2 punch. Of course, we'll mix in Craig Jones, our change of pace guy, over 5 yards per carry on his career with a 73-yarder last season. Then Jared Luke, the 4-star freshman, going to be the number 4 running back. And we also have Sam Manning and Michael James here. So a lot of backs, and we're going to lean on Alexander, McBride, Jones, but we'll try and work in the other guys as well. Josh Terry at fullback. I think we will have him as our slot receiver again open the year, which will open Albert Brown into a fullback role. So we're kind of loaded here at receiver. So I think I will just go ahead and put Terry in the slot like we did last year, but it won't let me because he's a starting fullback. So I guess we can't do that right now, but I'll work on that in formation subs. Tommy Washington. So I like a slot receiver with good agility, and Pope and Coleman just do not have it. So Tommy Washington, even though he's 6'5", 227, I typically think of like a 5'10", just like 6-foot guy there in the slot with quick feet, but Washington, I think he can be a weapon there in the slot. We'll work him in on the outside as well, but I guess he'll open in some slot sets, and we'll have Terry in some of those spots as well with Dylan Anderson, Quincy Bonner, and Jason Smith, our quarterback, but a good receiver as well. Like I said, going to try and mix him onto the field. Jack Mason, a junior tight end, will be the starter, followed by Craig Watkins, Mike George. At left tackle, Roger Cook, going to be a 4-year starter. Marquise Cole, part of our year 3 recruiting class, I guess year 2 recruiting class, a redshirt, going to start for his first year at left guard, a good run blocker. Bobby Marcus went up +8 after training in the offseason, number 89 overall. At center, Richard Walker, a 2nd-year starter at right guard, pretty good pass blocker. And then Justin Hill, the 4-year starter at right tackle, hoping he can be a little more consistent and maybe our first draft pick in this series. Antonio Carr was a first-team All-American last year with 10 sacks, hoping to keep up the dominance and kind of pick up the slack, as we did lose Jerry Jones and Mike Johnson, 2 key contributors. Jed Brigham will be the starter at right end, but Anthony Edwards, Taylor Ryan, and Bryant Gaines here will all get mixed in to the action as well. D-tackle Witherspoon, coming off a tremendous year as a first-year starter, 6 sacks last season, will be the starter alongside Troy Walker, but we'll also get Jeff Thomas into the mix. I'm not really sure about Daniels and Hill, but we'll try. But we're going to definitely stick with Witherspoon and Walker most of the time. Jonathan Leak at left outside linebacker. I mean, we run a lot of 2 linebacker sets with the 4-2-5, nickel, dime. So we really don't have more than 1 or 2 linebackers on the field at any given time, although we'll try and mix in a little more 4-3 sets this season. Chris Carter will be the starter at middle linebacker again. And, of course, Bobby Price, a 2nd-team All-American last year, with 73 tackles, 7 for loss, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, will be a 3rd-year starter. Ryan Weber here, probably going to be our primary backup with that 86 speed, 80 strength, 97 acceleration. At corner, Robert Williamson, our all-time leader in interceptions with 8, going to be the starter. And then Aaron Clark going to step up from his slot role. He had a couple picks last year. Derek Perkins almost transferred to Western Kentucky over the offseason. We were able to keep him in Milwaukee. The sophomore is going to be our slot corner, and Mike Carroll will be out there in dime sets, even though he's a higher overall than Perkins. We prefer Perkins a little bit more pound for pound, and we want him to develop a little bit more going into his junior year, where he's going to be our top corner. He will be our top corner alongside there with Mike Carroll, as Williamson and Clark will move on. At free safety, Omar Wilson and Andrew Thomas will mix in between snaps, and then Mark Henry, Jason Taylor at strong safety with Dominic Green. I don't know how or when we're going to get him onto the field. Hunter Kraft, the freshman kicker, 83 overall. Love to see that. Fred Castillo moves to punter from kicker. Gonna hope that he can step into that Eddie Stevens role. Alexander will be our kick returner to open the year, and Robert Williamson will be our punt returner. Now, looking at the schedule, last year was the first time we had a strength of schedule of A, and now we have bumped it up. We've stayed to our commitment, and now we have A+ strength of schedule starting at Arizona. They were 10-0 last year, and then they lost their last 4 games, but they were number 2 in the country. They took down number 1 UCLA, and then just plummeted after that. But the Wildcats were number 1 in the nation and at one point last season, but then just fell apart towards the end. So Eastern Michigan is where Lawrence Jackson is going to transfer, and we'll look at his player card here shortly. But we're going to see him. We're going to do a home and home with Eastern Michigan. So we created him on a different team, and we actually ended up taking a redshirt junior spot. So instead of being a true senior like he is, Jackson will have 2 more years of eligibility. So we'll see him in Milwaukee this year, and then we'll travel to Eastern Michigan next season and get a rematch with him. The War of Wisconsin this week will be in week 4 as we host the Badgers. Fell last year in the inaugural War for Wisconsin as we look for revenge this season. We'll be at Miami in week 5. They enter the season at number 15. A very good team there for the Hurricanes. Purdue has one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. We lost to them 35-10 back in year 2. Look for some revenge this year. Then at Oklahoma, we're going to travel down to Norman. The Sooners open at number 2. We'll see if they can stay that high in the rankings. I'm not sure. I think they might fall to Texas, which is one of the games ahead of that. We'll see how that goes. Then another Big 12 matchup here versus Iowa State. A bye week, and then we're at Oregon. We're going to Autzen Stadium. The Ducks open at 25. Then versus Missouri. They ended the season at number 2 last year. I think 12-2 overall. They were the only team to beat South Carolina prior to the national championship, where the Gamecocks lost to Army. Then we're at Georgia, going to Athens. Senior day this year will be New Mexico State. So we had number 7 Notre Dame. The year before that, number 4 Virginia. And we lost back-to-back senior days. So a more manageable opponent this year. And then we're going to close at Clemson, who entered the season at number 10. With the preseason out of the way, we're now officially into year 6. It's September 2018, as we are getting closer to modern day, but still a few years in the past technically. So like we said, we're opening at Arizona. They actually entered the season at number 26, so the first team out of being in the top 25 rankings. They're B+ across the board. We're B- overall, and defense with a B offensive rating. And now we're at the Lance Leipold skill tree, and we actually do have a coaching point, an upgrade point to spend. And we're even at 9 game management, 9 for recruiting. So, of course, we're going to go over to the recruiting side and pour one into here. I think we're going to go and max out royal treatment. So that way when we bring in visits, we get a bigger boost there. And then our next one, I'm not sure if we go closer or kitchen sink. It's going to depend. We really need kitchen sink. I think that's the biggest thing we need right now. But it depends how our recruiting process is shaping up there in the later weeks. But also we do have to spend a point over here in game management before we go back to recruiting just to even it out. Look at our coordinators. We have Matt Campbell at defensive coordinator. Second year here with Marquette after being fired as, I think it was the Toledo head coach, a level 16 D coordinator. Then Bobby Goss, his 6th year here under Lance Leipold. Our next point probably going to put for pass blocking or maybe impact. Not quite sure yet on that, but definitely in the blocking category. And maybe Goss and Campbell each get head coaching gigs after this season. Now we're back at the recruiting board, and we're going to go ahead and divvy up these points. As you've seen in past preseason episodes, really no method to the madness. We kind of just wing it and then see how we do from there. So Coleman out of Appleton, Wisconsin, we do get a 310 bonus on him. So I think a starting point, we could just go to 400 for now. Maybe even go all the way up to 500 at some point. Jake Allen, 73 overall. I guess we will scout him halfway just to make sure he's up to snuff. He does drop 2 points. The jumping goes up. The strength goes down to 77. 79 acceleration, 69 finesse, only 64 block shed and press with B speed. Do you like the size there? Out of Shelby, Michigan, we'll go up to 300 on him for now. We get a nice boost with him at plus 345. Terry O'Connell, I think we might as well just go ahead and scout him halfway as well. He goes down 3 to a 70. The man and zone, each in the mid to low 60s. 83 presto with 83 hit power and tackle. 70 strength, 88 acceleration. So those coverage ratings take a big hit, but I do like his overall game, I guess, once those coverage traits go up a bit. That 83 press, you wish it just evened out a little bit into the coverage ratings, but I don't know. I'm not really sold on him now. I guess we'll just go ahead and scout everyone that we really didn't scout halfway yet. Tim Smith drops down 1, but you love the 93 speed with 86 acceleration, 73 agility, very low though. It's 77 route running, but catching only at 62. The spec and catching traffic at D. So a decent athlete, but I really hate that agility. So with these two guys, I mean, they both fell a little bit. We get decent bonuses, not really anything special on the bonuses. Maybe just 200 for each for now. Probably will go back to them here later on. LaRue Hart, we already have him halfway scattered. Really like what he brings to the quarterback position. Not a big bonus. We don't have Minnesota as a pipeline. So we'll go to 300 for him. I guess Smith and O'Donnell, 250 each. I think Smith will be a better receiver even if he drops a few more points than our other target on the board. Madsen, we have not scouted yet. Nor Richardson or Bush. We'll just scout 3 of them now. Bush goes down 1. His finesse all the way down to 65. But the power and block shed at 74 with 86 acceleration. C speed, though. Low strength in the D. What about Richardson? He goes up 1, 83 acceleration, 76 strength, 77 finesse, 69 press, 77 hit power. You like him. He looks like a pretty decent prospect. Now Madsen, and he goes down -1. Vision goes up to 69, 71 route running, good for a back, 75 juke, 80 agility with B speed and acceleration. Kind of the same boat with Smith and O'Donnell, maybe just 250 for now. I think we will go ahead and just move Hart up a little bit under Allen. Richardson, he looks to be a pretty legit prospect. Maybe go 300 on him. Don't get any of those regional bonuses with him being from California. Bush, it was always a uphill battle for him, and he fell 1, only 1. Really like the power move and block shed, so kind of like Madsen and Smith. Richardson will put up a little bit as well. I think Bush at 250, or even 200. We'll see how that goes after. We have a bunch of teams ahead of us, so we might just pull out on him altogether. Adrian Holmes, definitely wanted to scout him halfway. 97 acceleration, 84 strength, 77 run block, C speed, pass block, and impact. So I think Adrian Holmes is going to be a very good player. We could even move him up behind Hart up here. I want to go 400 on Holmes. I think he'd be a very special lineman. We're going to just go Coleman 500. Allen will go up to 350. Same with Hart. We'll keep Holmes at 400. Keep Richardson at 300. Keep these guys at 250. Stephen Curry, definitely want to get him in. Not even just for the name notoriety, but I really like his receiving threat at tight end. Stanley, I think we'll hold off on for now, hoping that Curry we go up on his board. So Morris and Dixon here, they really were kind of even. They both have different strengths, different weaknesses, so I think we'll stand pat, and we won't really offer them any points quite yet. We do want to scout these two corners here. Brian Beck, and he goes up 1. 87 acceleration, goes up 73 man, C zone, B press, 85 agility, and B speed. Well-rounded corner prospect. McGill, we're 5th on his board now, so I think he only had 4 teams previously, so he added us, which you like to see. I'll go ahead and scout him. 87 speed, 80 zone, 71 pursuit with B press, C man. So both of these guys are pretty good. Beck, that we're more likely on, I think. So I think with Beck, we'll go up to 300 for now. McGill maybe just like 200 or 150. Andrews, definitely liked him. We have a couple linebackers ahead of him on the board, but would Allen be a DN maybe? 69 finesse with B power, but he does have coverage, so don't want to squander that coverage and put him up on the line. Richardson does have coverage as well. Not really that DN size, but Allen does have that, DN size at 6'2", 257. But maybe someone who plays outside in a 3-4, but then in a 4-3, plays up there with his hand in the dirt. So I do like the versatility Allen offers, and we'll just go ahead and offer him, Coleman, Hart, and Holmes for now. I think we'll just offer those 4 in this week 1. So we're kind of settled here. Curry, I think 350 might bump us up a good bit. I did want to go for Andrews. We'll move back up. Probably around here, I guess. I did want to pour some points into Andrews, even though we have those linebackers up here. Would he be a DN? Maybe not at all. I mean, his coverage and block shed are each, all in the mid-60s right now, so we can kind of go either way. 80 strength, which definitely would work on the D-line with B speed, so maybe someone who could be a good pass rusher. So I think we'll just go ahead and go for 200 with him. We have a decent bonus, and I think we'll offer him as well. We really need to bring in someone from Iowa, so he might be that guy. We'll move McGill up here. I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, like I said earlier, we don't have many options, or we don't have many spots to fill. Maybe like a dozen players we need to bring in. That's kind of what we've divvied up at this point. So we could even probably go even more points. We still have like 2,000 points to distribute, which is pretty crazy. For Smith, O'Donnell, and Matson being as they're all 4 stars, even though they all dropped a few points or at least 1 point, we'll just still go up to 400. We're definitely going to need to compete for them if we want to stay in the race. And that brings us now to 5,000 even. Allen will go to 400 for. Hart will go to 400. Holmes, why not just go to 500 for Holmes? Move him up to our second-ranked prospect. Really like him as an offensive lineman. And this is where kitchen sink would really come into play. Like, we have a bunch of excess points at this point, so it would be really worthy if we could bump Coleman to 550 or 600 along with some of these other guys. Richardson will go to 350 for. So what about backup plans? I mean, we kind of have our bases covered at this point, but still maybe want to try and keep our heads above water for backup plans. So 2 tight ends here, Stanley Summers. I mean, Summers is an Iowa guy, so we kind of would like to bring him in as some insurance there. These 2 tackles. Linebacker Brent Stokes. Maybe we'll just throw a little bit into him with the versatility he presents as an athlete. Bump him up over McGill and give him 200. Matt Harvey, we'll scout him. The JUCO guy. 78 zone, you like that, with 71 block shed, 78 strength, 74 hit power. And, you see a lot of green there. The stamina, press, and man all go up. 6'3", 240. Could be a decent linebacker option. Maybe, probably not D end with the power move and finesse move there at D. We already have 2 underclassmen, or 2 high school seniors that we're scouting at corner, so I don't really think we need to go in on Corey Brown quite yet. At running back, we have these guys scouted. We don't have any of these guys at the bottom scouted, though. We'll hold off on the fullback. We don't really need to worry about that. Jameel Smith, a tackle. He goes up +9 to a 68. A 2-star out of McKesney Park, Illinois, the 123rd ranked tackle. 6'4", 300 even. Goes up +9. 79 run block. 79 pass block. 71 run block. 73 impact with B strength. So Jameel Smith, we're definitely getting in on you. I'm happy that we went ahead and scouted him. So even though he's similar here with Morris and Dixon, just the fact that he goes up +9, I love that. And we're going to put him up the board a little bit and start pouring some points into him as well. I think we'll open him up at 250, put him above Stokes. I love players who go up when you scout them, especially +9. That's a huge swing. What else we got down here? So Kevin Leonard was our backup option at receiver. Drew Miller, a backup lineman option. Brock Givens, a backup corner option. Brian Holmes, we don't have him. These last 4 guys we don't have scouted. 2 linebackers, 2 safeties. Holmes goes up 1, 69 finesse, C power, and block shed. C-zone and press. Decent athlete with 78 speed, 82 acceleration. Now Guy Young, 6'7", 242. Really like that size. But he does drop 2 to a 59, so really doesn't offer much. Just a 2-star. I think we'll just go ahead and remove him from the board. Open up a spot for somebody else maybe. Now 2 free safeties. Jake Hines, he stays at a 61, 87 speed, 86 acceleration, but only 58 man, D-zone, D-press with no block shedding. So I don't really know if we like him at all. And then Charles Miller, really just added him because he's from Ohio. We need to bring in an Ohio player. And he goes up a couple after scouting, 86 speed, 69 block shed, 85 agility, like that. So I think we'll go ahead and remove Hines from the board as well, which gives us 2 openings, and we still have 500 points to spend. So go position by position. You know, we really want Hart. We'll just go up to 450 on him. Maybe just to go up to 500 on him. Did we scout Madsen? We did scout. Okay, I think every player really on the board now we've scouted up to this point. Only 2 receivers here, so maybe we have to bump up Tim Smith a little bit. Tight ends. Curry, we're going to just go for him for now. And then we have a few guys here as backup plans. Hopefully Stanley or Summers, we can kind of keep way with them, even though we're not pouring points into them quite yet. Holmes and Smith are going to be our primary targets on the offensive line. We're going to bring in 2 linemen in this cycle. D-end, we need 1. Al Bush, will bump him up now to 300, even though he did drop quite a bit. I know he only dropped 1. I thought he dropped more. Somebody on the board dropped like 3 or 4 points. Can't really remember who it was. So Jake Allen and John Richardson, we like both of these guys. Allen will go up to 450 on him. Richardson will just stay at 350 for now. Andrews will go to 250 on him. We need that Iowa pipeline preserved. Brian Beck will go another 50. McGill will just stay at 150 for now. Safety, O'Donnell will leave as is. So still 150 points. And I think, yeah, Hart will just do the full 500 to start on him, which leaves us another 100. And I'm not really sure. We have a lot of points here. After, week 8, though, we go down all the way down to 5,000, unless we can bump that up before then. So 100 points. So we just poured this into 1 player here from our backup plans. I call them backup plans, but I don't really know if that's exactly what they are. Fallback options, I guess we'll say. The lineman, like I said, we really don't. I guess the quarterback, just in case we miss out on Hart. So only 16 prospects right now are pouring points into. And as I mentioned, really only like 12 or 13 we plan on signing this cycle. And I love showing this graphic in the preseason. So a lot of congested pins here. Of course, Wisconsin is where we possess the most players right now, but only 4 targets in this class. John Coleman, Tim Smith, Madsen, and Brock Givens, one of our lower rated players. So 3 of these guys are priorities. Tim Smith, our priority receiver. John Coleman, the #1 player on our board. And then Josh Madsen, Coleman's teammate there in Appleton. Heavy here in Michigan. Currently 11 targets, including Jake Allen. And really, that's the only priority. A lot of these guys just fallback options. Yeah, so I think actually Jake Allen, even though we have Adrian Holmes as well. So Holmes and Allen are the only 2 Michigan guys we're pouring points into, although we have 11 targets from that state. Now Iowa, like I said, I think we need to sign 2 Iowa players. So Andrews and Brent Stokes, more than likely going to be those guys. Maybe Summers if we need to bring in another tight end. Now Illinois, another Wisconsin and Illinois is where the bulk of our roster is made up of. So Terry O'Donnell, Stephen Curry, Al Bush, Jameel Smith. 4 of these guys we're pouring points into right now. Jerry Stanley and Kevin Leonard, 2 priority fallback options. Indiana, just Brian Beck, the top corner probably right now for us. And then 2 from Ohio, Drew Miller and Charles Miller, 2 fallback options. And of course we have Kenny Weeks out of Winnipeg, a fallback option at middle linebacker. And then the Brick Township guy, Desmond McGill, repping the 7-3-2. Now here's the other view. So currently 21 players from Wisconsin. We're going to lose 2 in this class. 17 from Illinois, going to lose 5. 11 from Michigan, going to lose 2. 6 from Ohio, actually not going to lose any, but Next year we will lose 2, so need to bring in 2 more Ohio players within the next 2 seasons, so maybe we can get 1 or 2 this year. Iowa, we are going to lose 2, so we actually need to bring in 2. So maybe that linebacker, and I think one of those tight ends or a corner we had, or maybe it was that athlete from Iowa. So I think we're going to be able to preserve Iowa and Ohio, hopefully, but Ohio probably not until next year. Only 1 target from Minnesota. I think that was LaRue Hart, if I'm not mistaken, as it was. So probably the top quarterback you would think there in the state of Minnesota. And now we'll go to my school, look at our grades. Of course, playing time, playing style, proximity to home, all dependent on your team. Coach Prestige, our highest trait right now, our highest pitch rather, at A-. Stadium atmosphere up there at B+. Championship contender. Coach stability, television exposure, athletic facilities, all at B. And then 4 more here at B-. Conference prestige, still independent, and maybe we'll move into a conference here shortly in the next year or 2. Program tradition, academic prestige, and campus lifestyle there, but pro potential only at D+, and we still do not have any draft picks in this series, but hopefully Greg Walker or Justin Hill or both can find themselves in the NFL draft after this season. And now we're here at the preseason polls, and Notre Dame will debut as the number 1 team this season. They beat us on senior day last year, and what was that, 13-9? We just could not find the end zone, and now Notre Dame, the top team in the nation. Number 2, Oklahoma, we'll see them later on in the season. A Notre Dame-Oklahoma natty would be pretty fun to watch. Do they play each other by chance? I feel like they play each other sometimes in these dynasties, but they do not this year. South Carolina, Michigan, USC in the top 5. Missouri will play them at number 6. Georgia Tech, Nebraska, A&M, Clemson, who will play in the final week. Ohio State. Weird seeing Ohio State outside the top 10. Northwestern, TCU, Wisconsin, Miami. 2 teams will play here at 14 and 15. North Carolina beat them last season. Army, the reigning national champs, all the way down here at 17. What's their schedule looking like? Only 1 ranked team on the docket for them. A rematch with South Carolina from this past year's natty. Florida State, Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Boise State, Michigan State, Virginia Tech, and then Oregon rounding out the top 25. Arizona, we're going to open with them in the next episode, just outside the top 25. Would like to see them debut in there and started the season with a ranked matchup. Navy, Tennessee, San Diego State, Purdue. We're going to see Purdue, and they've been a very good team here over the past 2 seasons, opening at 30. Pretty high for them. West Virginia, LSU, Hawaii. Fresh off a 12-1 season there for the Warriors. Former head coach Robert Prince hired at Georgia, and we'll see the Bulldogs here this season. Iowa, Auburn, Virginia, Florida, Georgia here at 38. Weird seeing Hawaii above Georgia, but hopefully by the time we play the Bulldogs, they're ranked there in the third to last game for them. Boston College, UCLA at 40. Oklahoma State, Marquette, we open at 42, so not too far out of the rankings. Maybe if we start 2-0, 3-0, we'll be ranked at that point. 83 overall, 86 offense, 80 defense, and we're now a 4-star program. You'll love to see that. UW, Arkansas, Baylor, Texas, Penn State, Troy, CMU. The Chippewas had a 12-1 season last year. Oregon State rounding out the top 50. Air Force at 53. They have a new head coach, Troy Calhoun, now at Cal. Kansas State beat them last year. So Herbert Wright, our former defensive coordinator, was at Kansas last year for 1 season. I think 8-5 with a bowl win, and then he jumped ship and went to Stanford, who's actually ranked lower than Kansas is. Washington State, they tormented us in the bowl game to end last season. Temple, Georgia State, Arizona State, Louisville. Stanford here at 66, so we'll see how Herbert Wright does there. Going to schedule them next season if he stays there. Rutgers, repping Jersey there at 67. Houston, Vandy, Cincinnati, Toledo, BYU. NIU, Kentucky, Utah all the way down at 79. Cal at 82. Pittsburgh, Illinois. Weird at this spot, to see some Power 5 programs. Minnesota all the way down here, down to a 1-star program. The Golden Gophers, sorry, obscure victories. NC State, at least New Mexico. At least you're doing a lot better with New Mexico than they are in this one. Looks like they're not even in the top 100. Iowa State, we're going to play them at some point, just barely making the top 100. Duke all the way down there, along with Wake Forest, 2 bottom dwellers there in the ACC. New Mexico State, we'll see them. Probably the lowest rated team we'll play all year here at 101. Still no there's New Mexico. They're at 109, 1 star. They play number 1 Notre Dame this season. That should be a good one. Actually, Eastern Michigan. So this is actually where Lawrence Jackson, our backup quarterback, is transferring. We'll look at his player card here, as I mentioned. They're not the worst, although overall-wise, they are the worst at just 72 overall. So hopefully that game we can give them a shellacking. The bottom team this year is Texas State at 126. The Heisman Watch this year, 3 running backs to open, starting with Kevin Lumpkin of Georgia Tech, 6'1", 233, almost 2,000 yards last year, 6.5 yards per carry over the last 2 seasons with 36 rushing touchdowns, a 99 acceleration, 99 break tackle, 99 elusiveness, 99 vision, 99 spin, 99 juke there at 95 overall. We played him a couple years ago, and he was the first player, we started with real rosters here for the first 5 seasons. Now it's all generated players, but he was the first AI generated player to ever appear in the Heisman Watch. Maybe he comes away with it this season. CJ Bradshaw from Oregon State, Sylvester Knox, the top quarterback here from Michigan, Thomas Collins, and I'm pretty sure we had Collins on our recruiting board at one point, number 4 out of Boise State, and Mike Jackson, a 99 overall quarterback from LSU at number 5. Now, preseason All-Americans, and we actually do have a few here between the first and second team. 3 guys here from the Heisman Watch: Jackson, Bradshaw, Lumpkin. Anthony Culp, wide receiver from South Carolina, had a very good national championship game, although the Gamecocks lost that one. Andrew Young out of Miami as a tight end. We're going to see him, along with Sean Taylor, the top center in the nation at 99 overall from Clemson. Georgia here, Ryan Young, we'll see him later. And that's going to be Ryan Young against Antonio Carr in that matchup, each starting here on the first team. So that'll be fun to watch a few weeks down the line. Jake Witherspoon, also a preseason All-American first teamer. Did not expect that, the 79 overall D tackle. Bobby Price also on this preseason first team. So our front 7, Lance Leipold has done a tremendous job, especially on the D line, and it's showing nationally now. Andrew Hayes, the corner here from Troy. Kansas gets a corner here, Steve Wilkinson. Miami, we'll see Josh Andrews later on in the year. Patrick Cole intercepted us last season. Just a true sophomore on this first team preseason All-American team. Second team now, Tyler Broussard out of Syracuse, the quarterback. Jared Strong from Central Michigan. Andrew Hardy, so Lawrence Jackson going to Eastern Michigan, and he's going to have Andrew Hardy, 6'1", 279, receiving tight end. What a frame that is. Drew Peterson, another Georgia All-American here on the O-line. Michael Finley, a center from Miami. We're going to see him. Richard Taylor from UL Monroe. Love seeing these small schools. Southern Miss here. Josh Wilkinson getting guys in. Chris Carter, a middle linebacker on the second team. So that's 3 or 4? I think 4 altogether between the first and second team. We got Akron, USF, Florida Atlantic, Iowa State. Ryan Perry will play against him out of Janesville, Wisconsin. Calvin Herring here from Miami. And Mark Henry from Marquette. Definitely our most active, probably our most consistent defensive player last year. Lucas Thomas from Utah, Bradley O'Neal, and Derek Cruz from TCU. 2 Horned Frogs special teamers rounding out the All-American teams. Now at Championship Contenders, and we're going to open this year at 42. They have us at 60 next year, 49, and then 41. But with a strong recruiting class this year, we could bump up those grades. And with even more success this year, we could bump up those grades as well. Now, toughest places to play. And even though the Crimson Tide are on a 2-game losing streak at home, Bryant-Denny Stadium debuts at number 1 this year, followed by Michigan Stadium, Notre Dame Stadium, Ohio Stadium. Very original names here at 2, 3, 4. Kyle Field, Neyland Stadium. We won a game there last year, a comeback win against the Vols. And Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, the Gators had won like 36 straight home games there at the Swamp, but that streak was snapped last year. Gaylord, Oklahoma Memorial Stadium is where we're going to be playing in a few weeks. The toughest place to play right now on our schedule at number 9. South Carolina, LSU. Faro Field here from Missouri. Currently a 12-game winning streak at home. Looks like to be the longest active home winning streak in the nation. Marquette here at 32. Oregon, Autzen Stadium at 30. We'll see them this season. Who else we got up here that we're going to be playing? Clemson at number 20. Clemson Memorial Stadium. We'll finish the year there down in South Carolina. We played at Camp Randall last year. Now Wisconsin's going to visit Milwaukee. Sanford Stadium will be down in Athens this year, currently number 15. Miami at 13. So we're going to be playing at number 9, number 12, number 13, number 15. So 4 of the top 15 toughest places to play we're going to be at, 5 of the top 20. So certainly have our work cut out for us this season. And I'm very glad that, that the computer recognizes that and gave us that A+ strength of schedule. So I don't really know what else to look at in this episode. We kind of covered the bases here. Previewed the year, looked at our recruiting board, looked at the depth chart, the schedule, of course. And I'm very excited for our recruiting board this year. So I guess this is where I'm going to leave you, folks. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. I'm set for another year here, year 6 of this Marquette Dynasty. And I gave a shout out at the end of last episode, but you know who you are. Thank you so much for those who have kept up with it throughout this series. And, one more year, but hopefully beyond that. Oh yeah, Lawrence Jackson here. So we have him 86 overall. We ended up just bringing him over to Eastern Michigan, where he's actually their highest rated player on the team. So we'll get to see Lawrence Jackson donning his new digs here a couple episodes from now. So as always, everybody, it's been real and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.